Man of Maranatha, Detroit, Michigan, where everything depends upon a proper interpretation of Genesis 3:15, where the Most High God said to the serpent, I will put enmity between you and the woman, her seed's heel will bruise your seed's skull. Was just asked the question, why doesn't the Catholic Church or other Bibles speak of Adam's first wife? And this is my response. The Bible is meant only for a particular people. And by you understanding that it was only meant for a particular people, there are two things that are going on. You have the written text and you have the oral tradition, the oral interpretation of the text. Now, many people will listen to a song, or they will read a book, or even go to a movie, and they will watch, listen, read, but yet they will get their own interpretation, what comes out to them, what's appealing to them. So, you'll listen to a song and you'll get something out of it versus something that's different from me. You'll read a poem and it affects you a little bit different than it affects me. But whereas with the scriptures were written for a particular people. Now, other people have gotten a hold of the book and they're reading the book and they're saying, this is what the book means to me. And a lot of people, they like different interpretations. They like for their ears to be tickled, with a different interpretation. So when Paul, he says, you make sure you adhere to the oral traditions that we have given you. See, the oral traditions that were given to the Israelites were different from the Gentiles. The Gentiles will listen to something and they will change it. They will flip it. They will make it appealing to them, whether it's sincerely or if it's meant for, to destroy people, because they know that, if they have any type of really good common sense, they understand that the demise of the people of the book was not to have a correct interpretation. The demise of Israel was that they forgot their wisdom. The demise of Israel is because they forgot that they had a mother. You don't have a mother, you don't have anyone to teach you. You might be aware of the Father, but you keep going to the Father asking things of the Father, and you haven't listened to Mom. What is the Father going to do? He's going to say, get out of my face. It is a natural imagery for Israel. So now, getting back to the question. Adam sought to have a wife. Adam sought to fulfill his purpose and his vocation. His vocation was to be fruitful and multiply. That is what his vocation was. That is his purpose. God created everything, and everything that he created was to be fruitful and to multiply. But they were supposed to be fruitful by uniting with flesh of its own kind. Each flesh is to unite with its own kind. So here it is, and this is the oral tradition now, and you can possibly see it in the written text. But the oral tradition is, okay, everybody has been created. Everybody has a counterpart. Everybody has a mate. Everybody has something that they can procreate with. Even the animals. The animals have something that they can procreate with, except for Adam. Now, Adam is going around looking for a wife. And as is said in the scriptures, he's going amongst the beasts of the field. The beasts of the field were people. That is how God looks at the other people, the other nations, the Gentile nations. We cannot interpolate our ideas onto the text by saying, because you're a dragon, because God identifies you as a dragon, that, you are evil, or because God identifies you as a leopard, you are, sneaky and mischievous. It could, but you can't. You can't do that. It's not good exegesis. You can't do it. You have to do line upon line, precept upon precept. You have to build your so-called argument. And even then, if you build an argument to support your view, it doesn't mean that it's true. It doesn't mean that that is how God intended for the text to be understood. Like Korah and Moses, they were bucking against each other. They're both Israelites. They're both of the blood. But, when somebody gets a little bit envious and jealous going against the law, they challenge the authority. They challenge authority. And this is what Yeshua, and you got to help me because that J word should not be used. I say it unfortunately, to appeal to certain people so that they can understand the oral tradition. But his name was Yeshua. Yeshua is the Savior. His name bears the Father's name. Him being the second Adam, let's look at the first Adam. The first Adam is looking for a wife amongst the beasts of the field, the Gentiles, but he can't find one. So what he ought to do, as what we should do today, is when we find ourselves in a dilemma, we go to the Father. And we ask of the Father, can you help us? This is a situation that I'm in. I want to fulfill your goal. I want to fulfill your purpose, my vocation. However, in this situation that I'm in, I'm looking at all of these women out here. I'm looking at all of the beasts of the field. And yet, I know that none of them are suitable for what I need to do. Because I want to produce a child in your image. Not my image, God, speaking as Adam, but your image. Because I'm a son of God. I'm reflecting you. The child that I should bring into this world should reflect you also. So the oral tradition is that when you are faced with a dilemma, one of the oral traditions is that when you are faced with a dilemma, you go to the Father and you ask the Father, can you help me eliminate this problem? Now, what the Father has done for Adam, because he came to him with a humble heart and, seeking to do God's will, God gives him a wife. He puts him asleep and says, okay, fine, I'm going to give you a wife. Now, this is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. Now, you can cohabitate. You can procreate. You can have sex with this woman because she is of your essence. She has your DNA. Now that I've given you this bride, you have to take care of her. You have to love her and love her not in, power and authority, but love her in, I don't know how to express the love. Love her in grace and patience. She doesn't understand everything you understand, but because I have given her to you and you are to be over her, you need to rule over her, not in abuse, but rule over her in mercy and rule over her with the intent to bring good fruit, to bring good children. Okay, so now Adam agrees, and the scenario that plays out, this is where it gets, tricky with all of the different interpretations. But the scenario that plays out is that the first woman, Lilith, the first woman, the serpent, the first woman that you know, maybe Adam had his eyes on, but she definitely had her eyes on him. The first woman came back to Eve and tricked Eve. You know, she gave her a potion, because it's given throughout the scriptures, you know, these different herbs these different drinks, these different fruits can intoxicate a person, and they will, you know, you could fall asleep. And then once you fall asleep, you can probably, you know, have relations with the male person. What is that? The Amorites, you know. When the father was given the wine by the two daughters, and they both end up having sex with the father. See, this oral tradition, this theme goes throughout the scriptures to promote the true understanding of whenever you have a problem, you should go to God. That's the overall agenda. Keeping your bodies pure from sexual immorality and fulfilling your purpose while you are here on earth. Okay, so let me rewind. Okay, so Adam needs a problem to be solved. He goes to God. God gives him a wife, because everything else is being fruitful and multiplying except for Adam. Adam sees that there are no Gentile women who are able to help him produce the vision that he wishes, that he wants. So he goes to God. God gives him Eve. The serpent, being a woman, she comes and she tricks Eve, and both women end up being pregnant. You have the seed of the woman, which, you know, there's another old tradition that is rooted in that. But you also have the seed of the serpent. See, either the seed of the serpent, that seed was given to the serpent, or that serpent produced the seed. You have the masculine view or the feminine view. You have to line up this idea, this oral interpretation that I'm presenting, if you want to rightly divide the word of God, and you know, go throughout the Bible to see if there are any hints, clues that would either support or negate what I'm saying. And if what I'm saying is in error, I am asking you to get back with me. Holler at me. Tell me how I'm wrong, because I'm trying to get right. Now, Yeshua, being the second Adam, when he is on the stake, not on the cross, when he's on the stake, the cross is a Greek interpretation. When he is on the tree, the stake, the tree, he is stabbed in his side, water and blood come out of him, and that is the prefiguration, the so-called typology of him being the second Adam. You know, Adam, a rib was taken from him, and Yeshua, he was stabbed in the rib. So this blood and water that comes out is the prefiguration of Yeshua's bride. Adam has a bride. The first Adam has a bride. The second Adam has a bride. Now, you could say it is a Gentile bride, but that's something further along. But the idea now is Yeshua being the second Adam, he now is kind of faced with the dilemma that the first Adam had. He too wants to have a wife. Now, in this typology, the people of Israel, the people who yearn to serve God, they are now, they are now betrothed unto Yeshua. See, the first Israel, they were given divorce papers because they kept falling into idolatry. They kept falling into paganism. They kept disobeying wisdom and implementing wisdom to follow the Ten Commandments, the statutes and decrees of the Father. They kept putting aside their wisdom, that feminine. Because they kept disobeying, because they kept being like so-called Eve, because if you go back to Eve, once she partook of this fruit, being sex, she was more inclined to go back and possibly have sex with someone else. See, Adam and Eve, they're synonymous. They are echad, yakid. They're one. If Adam, who's an Israelite, has sex with a Gentile woman, now Eve, being an Israelite, she might have sex with a Gentile man. I mean, Solomon, Moses, didn't he marry Ethiopian woman? Who was that? Abraham? See, not all Gentiles are Caucasian. Not all Gentiles are Chinese. Yeah, they are included in the Gentile spectrum of things. But even the other nations of Africa, the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Jebusites, all of these other nations who were melanated as well, they too are considered a Gentile nation. They too are considered beasts of the field. Israelites being in captivity of Babylon does not mean that all Babylonians and only Babylonians are Gentiles. Or when they were under the Persians, doesn't mean that only Persians were Gentiles, exclusively. You still have the Chinese, you still have the Cubans, you still had, well, it all depends on how you look at the breakdown of the chart, but it has gotten so out of hand that through this sex, everybody has had sex with everybody, and this bloodline it's been filtered to a lot of people. That's why certain people say if you have one drop of black blood in you, you are black. There are certain Gentiles who want to keep their Gentile identity. They want to remain Gentiles. They don't want to be contaminated with the blood. But because Israel listened to their flesh, that serpent that's within them, the kundalini that's within them, they've been having sex with everybody. So this is why God is saying, keep yourself, or the apostles are saying, keep yourselves pure from sexual immorality, because sexual immorality is the chief sin that really compromises the body. God has given each flesh its own kind. A flesh of birds, a flesh of fish, a flesh of terrestrial, and a flesh of celestial. And to each flesh he has given its own seed, sperm, the ability to procreate and create something in its image. Adam created Abel, and then Seth, and then another child in his image. Yeshua is trying to make us in our image. But it's not only him putting forth the effort, it's you. You have to work out your salvation with fear and trembling to produce this good work in you, to produce this good work in your belly. In your belly, you need to become impregnated with this word, with this seed. And when you are able to do this, then that is a good thing for you. I am the man of Maranatha, Detroit, Michigan.